Greetings, I'm Pillar Nexus Ancient Gladiator today with Pillar Loves Tabletop Games. I had to zoom out for this one because today we got Mega Empires. This is the West board. I also have the East board as well. Goal of the game is to have the most points at the end. As part of that process, you will start your turn by increasing your population, moving out, and then continuing to build up population until you have enough to get in to gather them into cities, which will get you commodities, which you can trade for advancements, which will help with getting up the Archaeological Succession Table. Here's the AST. Its ranking is the final tiebreaker of a lot of things. But it'll have certain requirements to cross certain lines. So at the start of the game, you'll get your civilization. So there's Carthage and Rome and Hellas and Minoa and Assyria and others as well. Between both games, West and East, it's possible to play with 18 players. Although, as of the special market board edition for the East, it's possible to play with as little as 3 to 4 players. But yeah, you'll get your civilization, your stock, your cities, your boats. You'll start on your starting space. At the start of your turn, you will collect taxes from any cities you have in play. Nobody starts with any cities. But if you do have a city, you'll move 2 of your people from stock over to treasury. Or 2 of the counters. And if you cannot collect the taxes, your cities will revolt. We'll get to that later. After collecting taxes, you expand population. Every spot that starts with 1 person gets another person. If they stay here for a turn, then every spot with at least 2 people gets 2 more people. They recommend putting them face down until you've placed everyone. Or what I do is put into a separate pile, and then once I have all the piles out, stack them. Each area will have its limit. That's how many people can stay in that spot at a given time and stay alive, or at least not fight each other. But once you have your new people, you can move them out. Each counter can move by 1 space. If you choose to spend 2 stock or 2 treasury or 2 people, or a mix of the 2, you can build boats. A boat can carry up to 5 and move up to 4 spaces without crossing the open sea. A counter can only get on and get off the boat once in a turn. If you have a boat from last turn, it rots unless you pay 1 treasury to keep it up, or 1 person as a location. But the strategy in where you're moving your people is you're trying to expand outward to establish your borders with your neighbors and make it very clear where you're trying to set the boundaries of your empire and the boundaries of their empire to not have to deal with any disagreements later. There's plenty of time on the AST to expand out and eventually home back to make cities on your city sites. Eventually you'll just draw the lines of your empires with your neighbors, and then have to bring 6 people together into a city site to make a city. You can make a city that is not a city site, known as a wilderness city, by bringing together 12. And they have to survive that turn in that space. So let's say we've got 6 people here in Carthage. At the end of any conflict, at the end of the conflict phase, you'll make your city. For every city you have constructed, you'll need to keep at least 2 people outside of your city alive. That is your initial city support rate. Some things can make it worse, some things can make it easier. If at this time you do not have enough people to support your cities, the city you built most recently will have to be reduced. When a city is reduced, it's reduced based on the current population limit. And then we'll go on to collecting trade cards. Now, as I brought up, cities are built at the end of conflict. When do conflicts happen? So, in a given space, it's possible for tokens to coexist, as long as the total does not exceed that number, that support number. However, in the event that the number is exceeded, then tokens will be removed as part of the conflict, starting with the player that has less. So there are 3 tokens here, 2 from Rome and 1 from Carthage. Carthage will be losing the token first, and then Rome gets to safely occupy that space. But let's say the numbers were equal, in which case tokens are removed simultaneously. And now we have our stalemate there. To attack a city, you have to bring enough tokens to crack it. Without any advances helping you whatsoever, you have to bring a stack of 7 tokens, which will require bringing them in from multiple locations. When you do, the city is replaced with either 6 or 5 tokens. It has been a little while. That's played 6 tokens. Thank goodness for play summaries on the back of rule books. Always approved. So there's now 6 tokens here, and the conflict will proceed from here as usual. After you crack someone's city, you can take a random commodity card from their hand. Hopefully it's a good one. You can also move 3 of your stock to treasury. Yeah, when you move stuff into your treasury, you flip it to its little treasure side. As a reminder. It's entirely possible that a player does not have the tokens in their stock to replace the city. In which case you replace as many as you can. Once per turn, though, if you are attacking a city and someone's attacking your city and you don't have the tokens, you can declare resolve the city first. Just to make sure that you've got the tokens to to defend later. It's mainly to prevent people from building right on your city site afterward. So yeah, you'll move, you'll fight, you'll build your cities, and then you'll collect commodities. Every city you have in play. Let's say we got our cities here and here and here. Alright, that gets you a commodity. You'll get a commodity from each of the commodity decks based on your number of cities. So you have one city, you are getting one card from the one deck. If you have two cities, you're getting a card from the one deck and from the two deck. If you have three cities, one from the two, or the one, the two, and the three, so on and so forth. It's entirely possible that due to people hoarding commodities, which is going to happen, a stack is empty, in which case you'll get a water card. It is worth nothing. It's also possible to end up with calamities. So let's take the 9 deck as an example. As part of the setup for the game, the non-tradable calamity will be the card at the bottom of the deck. A tradable major calamity will then be somewhere in the middle, so piracy. And then a minor calamity, if and only if you're playing with 9 players, will end up in, or possibly certain higher levels of players as well, will end up in the upper layer of commodities for that stack. The one stack is clear of commodities. You can always safely get the ones. But once you have your commodities, and once you have enough cards in general to actually make reasonable decisions with your trades, you can trade with players. So you'll have to, talk to someone, talk to one of the other players, like, okay, I'm going to trade these 3 cards. I'm trading you iron. I'm trading you iron and fish. I'm looking for, let's say, I'm looking for oil and wine and copper. I'm asking for high-end shit. I'm probably not getting anything, but hey, it's worth a shot. Like, they could say, okay, I've got oil and wine, and then throw whatever they're trading at me. However, the third card you don't have to say anything about. It could be a 1 card, it could be 0, it could be a tradable calamity. Once the trade is done, there's no trading back. And sometimes you're going to have to keep track of the last person you traded with regard to certain calamities. Like, where is it? The classic. Where'd it go? It's here. Treachery. The last person you traded with to get it, they get to take over one of your cities. But ultimately, your goal in this step is to collect sets of the same type of commodity. So let's look at this hand here. I got a 1, a 2, a 3, a 4, a 5, and a 6. That's worth 21. Do you know how close that gets me to an advancement? Not even halfway to pottery. Everyone's favorite civilization type game staple, pottery. Takes 60 and prevents damage from famine. So I'm trying to trade with people to get more stuff of those types. But I also have to give up some of those in the process. So let's say In the process of trading, I've got another, let's see, something to keep interested. There we go. Alright. So thanks to trading, I've got a couple more fish and another oil. So the wine's worth 5 on its own. The math for commodity value set, or set, commodity set value. Number of cards squared times the value of the card itself. So two cards is 4 times 4 is 16. It gives you a little reminder right there. 3 squared is 9. 9 times 3 is 27. So these three together are worth 27. If you want that value, you actually have to trade in all those cards to do it. If you trade in less, then you're only getting the lesser value. The closer you get to a complete set, the more value you're getting out of it. You'll know how close you are to a complete set by looking at the number of rectangles at the bottom, because that's how many cards will be in the game. So there's only 6 wine cards, 8 oil, and 8 fish. I can hold out for future turns and try to build up the sets even more. At the end of the trade phase, if you still have any commodity cards in hand, your hand size is 8. If you have more than 8, you're going to have to discard down, which means you should have been trading a little bit better. Trying to build sets on your own from the top of the deck is really freaking hard. You are going to have to trade with other players. And players are going to screw you over with calamities and water and crappy one value stuff. But trying to do it on your own is near impossible. So yeah, got 27 and 16 makes 43, and 5 makes 48. You can always use your treasury as value 1, especially if you need to be in a position for tax collection next turn. So these 6 cards and 2 treasury makes 50. I can use that 50 to get cloth making, or make my ships move a little bit further. Or mysticism, so superstition doesn't take so many of my cities. Or sculpture, to reduce the effects of tyranny. Or urbanism. Once per turn, when constructing a wilderness city, you may choose to use up to 4 tokens from areas adjacent by land. Considering the kind of area I'm in, I might go with urbanism. But once you spend stuff, it goes over to the discard piles. In addition, when you buy an advancement, you will take the appropriate tokens as shown on the bottom left. These are your trade credit tokens. So 10 towards further civics advancements. And yeah, that was a science pile that fell. Yeah, so this game is a table log. I make the mess here. Had them make the mess of everything here. So from getting urbanism, I've got a 5 science credit and a 10 civics credit. The next turn, starting with the next turn, when I go to buy civ advances of those types are that much cheaper. So let's say I want to eventually look into monarchy. It's now 10 cheaper because I have the 10 credit. If something has a double type to it, like let's say written record, you get to use one type or the other of credits. not both. In addition, your advances will have a special bonus at the bottom. So, urbanism is plus 10 to diplomacy. So, in addition to my regular trade credits, I get an additional 10 points cheaper, 10 value less to buy diplomacy. Which then provides a 20% bonus, or 20 point bonus towards getting provincial empire. Once you've resolved your calamities and then everybody buys their stuff, everyone will manage. The player in charge of the commodities will manage them as follows. Any major calamities that are in the discard pile will be set aside. Every other card in that discard pile will be shuffled and then put on the bottom of the deck. And then if any major calamity was set aside, it will go underneath all that. Do not mix in the discards with the stuff that's already there. You gotta keep them separated. And again, if you have any cards of 8 or less, if you have 8 or less cards, you're fine. Anything more than that, you'll have to discard. And then everyone will move up the Archaeological Succession Table as long as they meet the requirements. There are no requirements towards getting out of the Stone Age or moving through it. In order to get out of the Stone Age, you'll need to have at least 2 cities. As long as you have 2 cities, you keep moving. If you don't have 2 cities, you stop moving. If you have no cities and you are playing the expert game, then you move back. Otherwise, you stay where you are. The not having cities rule and moving backwards was a thing from Advanced Civ. Possibly the original Civ as well. But yeah. It's possible to stall if things are just not going well at all. The early Middle Bronze Age is 3 cities and 3 civ advances. Now, all the expensive stuff is really cool and all, but you want to focus on getting the cheap stuff now to build up your credits towards getting the next level stuff to get into the Late Bronze Age, which requires 3 civ advances of 100 or more, and at least 3 cities. Early Iron Age is 4 cities and 2 civ advances of 200 or more. And finally, 5 cities, 3 civ advances of 200 or more. It's possible you're missing the cities, even after you've gotten the advances, which really sucks. But as soon as someone moves into the Late Iron Age, that triggers the end of the game. Points based on how far you are up the table. Point for every city you have. Points for your advances. The less than 100 ones are worth a point. The 100 to 200s are worth 300 or 3. And then the 200 plus is worth 6. If you were the only player to move into your finish line spot, you get a 5 victory point bonus. And then whoever's got the most points wins, and there's a whole laundry list of tiebreakers. Other things that will come up. So, turn order. A lot of things will happen simultaneously. Collecting taxes, simultaneous. Population expansion, simultaneous. Movement. Simultaneous, but players may insist on waiting on other players in census order. So the player with the most people has to move their people first. At the start of the game, everyone's on equal footing. And it's extremely rare that anyone's moves are going to encourage anyone else's moves. At certain points, you'll realize, okay, people are going to be button heads. But you still need to keep things going at a good pace. So you look at the AST. Manoa goes first, then Assyria. Manoa might be waiting for Assyria might need to wait for Manoa. Then after Assyria are the Celts. The Celts can go while this is still getting figured out, as long as they're not pushing too far this way. And then while the Celts are going, the Carthage can probably go. While Carthage is going, Hatti can probably go as long as Minoan and Assyria has done their thing. Then Rome can probably go as long as Carthage and the Celts are done. And then Iberia can go probably while Rome's going. And then Hellas, and then Egypt could probably go simultaneously, unless they're somehow managed to cross the sea and really mess with each other. Yeah. And then conflict, again, tokens first. All the token conflicts have to be done before all the city conflicts. Oh yeah. There's another thing that can happen is you can fight barbarians and pirates. Pirates will have actual cities, and you'll get the 3 treasury if you do crack their city. But you won't get any commodity card that way. Trade card acquisition is always in city count order. So the player with like one city will get their stuff first. If multiple players have the same number of cities, it'll go off of AST, top to bottom. Trade is simultaneous and in time limit. Something that comes up that I see in the rules that we almost never do, it's possible to trade more than 3 things. As long as you trade at least 3. I've never seen anyone in our group ever trade more than 3 things. But that's simultaneous. Also, you might have to set a time limit. Calamity selection. Oh, there's the other thing that comes up. If you ever end up with more than 3 calamities, more than 2 in a game with less than 9 players, you randomly discard one of them. Discard down to 2. With the minor calamities, you're stuck with at least 1 minor calamity, and with at most 1 minor and up to 2 major. Possibly more than that on the minor if you have... Yeah, no more than 2 of which may be major. So it's possible to be stuck with 3 minor calamities. Anyway. And then everyone will get their any special abilities. Dealing with surplus population of city support because of the disasters. And then everyone will buy their cards at the same time. Everyone has their own deck of civ advances, so it shouldn't be... There's no stepping on anyone's toes like with older versions or alternative versions of civ that have, like, for some reason only 5 copies of a card in a game that goes to 7 players. And then finally it's just the AST resolution, which is top to bottom. Checking the conditions. Other things that the game has to offer. The short game. So, this game is incredibly long. You might want to play the short game just to get through it in an afternoon. Everyone will get a random scenario card to try to accomplish. And players will start with 5 cities in play. And actually collect the listed civ advances and the corresponding credit tokens. Some scenarios require destroying a city, it's part of it. But it gives you like a fast start to the game that might be a good way to learn it. Yeah. Alternatively, there's the expert game, where the requirements are even more brutal. So to get into the early Bronze Age, it's 3 cities. And then there's getting like a crap load of advances. It is a long one. I've only ever done the expert game with the 4-player version that the East introduces. Yeah. In fact, let's take a look at the East. Let's clear these tokens for a moment. Oh yeah, one of the nice little things about the game is on the back of your little Civ play sheet. This little historical information. It's pretty nice. Might also inspire some ideas of what to do with your empire. All right. Move these off to the side. Okay. Alright, here's hoping I don't knock the table too rough. Because I gotta come this way for it. Yeah, I can probably set up one side of the map on my table. Setting up the entire thing, I might post a picture of it. It stretches off both ends of the table. It's huge. Our tables at the game store can probably manage, though. So, fun fact, if you ever need to separate East and West civs, the West will have a dark symbol on a bright color background. The East will have a white symbol on a darker color background. So yeah. We've got this connects over to the Middle East. Actually, let's go ahead and do that. Let's cover up that one. And I can see that gets added in. And then going even further than that, we have the very underutilized section over here for Moria and Dravidia. But also adds Indus, Kushan, Parthia, Persia, Babylon, Nubia, and Saba. Apparently there's an old city called Saba. Alright. But this makes things even tighter and still room for 9 players. But having the entire map opens things up to 18 players. However, on the back of this one is half the puzzle of playing the 4-player game. So this is the market board. When playing with 3 or 4 players, there will be players will no longer trade with each other. They'll trade with this board. Cards will be distributed face down based on value. And players will trade in value for equal or lesser value. They might also give up a high value and a negative and take a lesser, like a 9 and a something to put on the -2 to take a 3 and a 4 for 7. If you're trading an actual set, so let's say you trade in 2 2s that were the same, then that's worth 4 to trade in for a 3 and a 1 or a 4 and a water. If you pull a face down card and it's a non-tradable calamity, there are rules for dealing with that. It'll get discarded, I believe. But there'll be a limited number of trading turns to resolve the board. As stuff gets filled up, it's just stuck. There's rules for clearing out like 2 of the water once the whole thing is filled with it. But yeah, you'll be playing as the 4 civs up here, and that'll make things interesting. Alternatively, from what I've seen, it's also possible to do the 4-player game with a West using, I want to say, is Hadi, Assyria, Egypt, and Manoa. Again, it's going to be a very tight game in terms of territory, because when playing with fewer players, out of play tokens will be placed on certain land that players will not be able to go into. Other ways to modify the game include the buildings. Got a set of buildings for both the East and the West, if you choose to play with them. For some reason, our main guy for our group isn't a big fan of them, but I think it'd be cool to at least paint them. They're purchased for trade points. The sooner you buy them, the cheaper. And then you put it in your region next to one of your cities. If possible, you need to put it in your starting location. So like Egypt would have to put it here, right on the floodplain. They can be used for reducing calamity effects. They can be used as a substitute for an incomplete set of trade cards. They can support 1 additional token during checks for a surplus population. So it turns a 2 into a 3. The building counts as a city for collecting taxes. And then they're worth extra points at the end of the game. But yeah, it also comes with little historical bits on the various buildings. So yeah, why do I love this game? This and the old Civ and Advanced Civ and Mega Civ, and now it's Mega Empires after being Western and Eastern Empires for a little bit. It's just a gigantic challenge, but in a way it's kind of a comfy kind of game. You are not intended to be at a constant war with other people. You're expected to have some measure of diplomacy instead of fighting each other all the time like a typical war game. There's just the general messing around with history that I personally love doing. There's lots of things to think about with, a lot of things that maybe encourage me to look up other things about history, like metalworking and coinage, and of course all the fun little information on the back of the civilization sheets. It is, however, a massive beast of a game. It is expensive. It is long. You're going to be punching out a ton of tokens, putting them into a ton of bags. Have fun finding sleeves for the big cards. But if this is your idea of a good time, go for it. Go for it. Fuck with history and have fun with it the best you can. That is Mega Empires. Check it out. If you can't buy it, play it with someone. If you can't play it or find it with someone, look up the old Advanced Civilization PC game and good luck with that. It's close enough. This is a massive improvement. I'm glad people care about the old Advanced Civ to want to do a revamp like this while still staying true to the spirit of the game. Alright, thank you very much for watching. It's been Pillar Nexus, the Ancient Gladiator, and I'll see you somewhere in history.